brush on this whole metaverse thing for a little bit here?
Sure.
Tell me something.
Why do people think it's going to be one thing? This has been the most confusing thing for me the entire time. Why does anyone think it's going to be one thing, and why does every company individually think they are going to have sole ownership of the one thing that exists? It has made no sense to me the entire time.
Here's what I want to know. Why does anyone think this is new?
That too.
Have I ever talked on the WAN show about the Palace?
The Palace.
The Palace. The Palace was a chat room that I used to use back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Not many people are going to remember.
That, as far as I can tell, was the Metaverse. Okay? Because this is what it looked like. So rudimentary by today's standards. You would go into rooms. So you could see here, you could see how many people were in a room. And you would have avatars, which were actually not a single image. So you could mix and match them. You could have a top, middle, and bottom, and like skater boy avatars were super popular at the time.
I'm sure they were.
Because it was the late 90s, and like skater girl avatars.
That's what the cool kids look like.
People traded avatars. They had an actual, there was some commerce around
NFTs?
There was some commerce around avatars where you could pay people to make them for you, because the skill of actually creating these avatars at that time was not something that was common.
That's cool, right? Supporting artists directly. Why not?
Let's see if I can find some of those. Just like this seems to be more modern. It's actually apparently been resurrected. So I'm trying to find some original stuff. This looks OG because your default was this weird smiley face
blob thing. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find any screenshots that actually look like they're from way back then. But basically, you would join a palace, and a palace would contain multiple rooms. So Korn's, South Park had one. Like, it was actually kind of mainstream within certain circles. And then different rooms could have different themes. And the way that the chat worked was you could whisper to people. So, okay, you'd see people right next to each other like these two. They're probably whispering, so nobody else can see what they're typing. But you could also communicate openly, kind of like this. And you would just have a speech bubble that would come up. Like, this is, as far as I can tell, pretty much the metaverse, but like 2D metaverse. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
Help me out here.
There's also, like, if we want to move past this a little bit as well, there was Second Life.
Here we go. Here we go. This is it. This is Palace avatars circa 1999 in a nutshell. This was basically everything.
Looks like they've got gene code jeans too.
Everyone and their dog was rocking this.
And there was a bunch of these, right? It wasn't just the Palace.
Well, Habbo Hotel came later. I would say Habbo Hotel was kind of the spiritual successor to the Palace.
I'm not saying there's a bunch that were before this, but there was a lot of different like chat room things where you could get different avatars and whatnot. And then Second Life is like legitimately it.
Yeah.
Right. Like you could set up businesses there.
Yep.
You could build buildings. You could do all the normal things you do in normal life land. And it was mostly filled with weird people by the end, but that's okay.
No comment.
There was.
I can tell you the Palace definitely had some weird people on it.
Anytime you have an anonymized internet chat room thing, it's just going to happen.
There's a lot of ASL going around. Let me say that. And I don't mean American Sign Language.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I have no idea who I chatted with all those years ago. I mean, I was smart enough to never meet up with anyone in person, but
I know people that were not.
Ooh. Okay, I shouldn't use the term smart. I was savvy enough, educated enough, cautious enough there. Because smart people can make big mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
You want me to tell you about a big mistake I made once? Or do you want to are you in the middle of a story? Go ahead.
No, I mean, not particularly. All I was saying is I know people personally that made the mistake of meeting up with people in real life that they only knew online, especially back then. Because these days, it's a little bit easier. You can see with stuff like Facebook and webcam conversations, you can see people more directly. But back then, you had no idea, usually. Even now, it's very dangerous, and you should be very careful. But anyways, yeah, Second Life is like legitimately it and is still totally around. VR chat, a lot of people have positioned, people have mentioned this in chat, and I've seen it previously as well. VR chat has been positioned as what this thing is. Yeah, I think right now it's extremely buzzwordy.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there's some,
Internet of Things.
I think there's some savvy business people and tech people that are going to get themselves in positions in companies based around work on the metaverse in order to make very large amounts of money, produce probably nothing, and then move on to the next thing.